Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Oh, brother, wait a minute. I'm at the door. I'm sorry, the dog walker couldn't get in. I was trying to... Well, hello. Another inauspicious start. It's Tuesday. Susan's there. Hello.
Yeah. Why are you utzing me when you aren't even there?
Well, I was there. And then what happened is the walker who had texted me and said she was stuck in traffic and she was sorry and she'd try to be quiet, and then she couldn't get in. Thank God. Anyway, it's always something. It's okay. No big deal. So, wait. Is Trump back in court today?
Oh, well, I don't know if he's going to be there, but court will be every day unless...
Yeah, I know, but I think he was going to go again, which surprises me, but I think it's...
Well, I think he's helping by putting his case out in the public in the hallway. And all he's doing, as I watch it with great amusement, is getting the judge, who is the sole trier of all of these facts and punishment phase, very angry. I mean, yeah, sure. Let him keep it up. He's just screwing up royally.
Yeah, if the guy who's got your the fate of your businesses in his hands, it just right. It doesn't seem smart to like.
No, it's like talking back to your daddy when he's right and holds all the punishment phase. I mean, it's just crazy. He just doesn't understand. He is incapable of understanding that other people actually do have power. And power over him. Yep. Watch. Yes, I'm enjoying it.
I don't know. I wouldn't enjoy it too much because he's, all of this for him, he's doing this performative stuff to make him appear to be a victim. And
he's only convincing the people that believe him anyway. He's not convincing anybody else. And honestly, I'm not worried about him. I'm worried about people. Well, I'm worried about him only because of people like Kennedy and Manchin and people like that who are threatening to topple the race. But other than that, if it's just straight up anybody against Trump, anybody wins. And I'm telling you that.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree. I don't think. One never knows. One never knows with this country. As somebody pointed out that, the 2024 election is not really a referendum on Biden or Trump. It's a referendum on the character of the American people.
Yeah, so, it's not even about democracy. It's about who we are, quite literally, right. Who we are.
Right. Well,
and I think there's more of us that are okay than not, but I won't know until the day after.
or then some. And you
also... myself.
That's okay. We also have people who, it's not okay that you're choking. I'm just saying, go ahead.
Talking about Trump this early just makes me ill.
Yeah. It's weird when they let the cameras in just for a little bit yesterday to take some pictures. The pictures were bizarre because the Trump's attorney, the guy, is smiling and grinning, seated next to Trump, who is doing his, mugshot glower. And I'm thinking, what is that attorney smiling about? I mean, he's with his client who's facing, what is there to smile about? And then they show the judge who's smiling too. And I think it's because they're not used to having cameras.
It's the cameras. It's the reaction to the camera.
Right.
No, and yeah.
Well, but if cameras were regularly in a court, there wouldn't
no one would pay attention.
No, you wouldn't pay attention. And I really wish And it seems that it should be the case that cameras be allowed in courtrooms so people can see.
I think it would be helpful if people could see how things actually worked and what was actually happening. Because when Trump comes out and says, they're lying and how dare they, and how come I don't get a jury trial, and making all of this fuss about not getting a jury trial, and then finding out that the reason he doesn't have a jury trial is because your lawyer didn't check the box.
Well, yeah. So, just pure incompetence. One gets the impression.
Or if it was incompetence, I think, it could have been a perfectly reasonable decision not to take your chances with the jury.
It could also be that he wants just one person to target and intimidate. Rather than an entire jury, and he's certainly trying to intimidate the judge with his.
And the district attorney. When he sits there or stands in front of her and just stares at her in a threatening manner.
General. The attorney general. Yeah. Well, I don't think. I think I don't think. I
think she's the district attorney of New York.
No. She's the attorney general.
Of the state. Okay. No. Yeah. Letitia James. Yeah. I'm getting all these smart women confused.
Well, I'll tell you what. It is. I've said this before. It is really delicious that there are these tough, strong,
smart,
intimidatable Black women who are taken.
No, intimidating, not intimidatable. Intimidating women.
But I'm saying who are not intimidatable.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear the not.
Yeah,
sorry.
Certainly not. So yeah. There was a Trump. By the way, maybe you didn't see it, but I had the misfortune of seeing it. Trump tweeted it out or on his Truth Social thing. It's one of the drawings from the court room yesterday showing him, but somebody has drawn in Jesus sitting by his side. And I gotta tell you, it's so funny that the Jesus that is sitting by his side looks like, the Christian nationalist, white Christian nationalist, Rambo Jesus. The
right.
Jesus who, would never have done this.
Who would carry an AK-15.
Right. So there he is, poor Donald Trump with Jesus with him in court. Unbelievable. Okay. So, better late than never. John Kelly, one of Trump's, he's had quite a few, hasn't he? Trump's, I'm trying to remember who they all were then. Who are they? John Kelly and obviously Mark Meadows. Who are we forgetting? There had to have been somebody before Kelly who was his chief of staff.
I'm sorry. I do not remember all the names, nor do I care to.
Well, we might be on, whatever. He liked generals going in, so he had John Kelly, who was a general. And
then he had Milley.
Milley
was chief of staff. Joint chief of staff.
Susan is here. Okay. And
I'm struggling with my nose and my cough, so here I am. Okay.
Okay. So John Kelly has put out this just to set the record straight. And I think it's people like Kelly and others who served under him who need to be way out front and a lot more vocal than they're being. But he clarified that things that have been reported that Trump had said were in fact true. And let me just share some if you missed it. I alluded to this yesterday. Kelly said, "What can I add that has not already been said? A person who thinks those who defend their country shot down or seriously wounded in combat or spend years being tortured as POWs are suckers because there's nothing in it for them. Those are two quotes from Trump, that they're suckers and there's not what's in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because, quote, it doesn't look good. And a person who demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family on TV during his first campaign. A lot of damage that did him, huh?
Right.
And he
that Gold Star family was not blonde and blue-eyed.
I don't think it matters. I don't know. They had the gall to speak out, in a way he found against him. And he says anybody who gave their lives, who goes into the military, are losers. Okay, so he goes on. You can't even believe this is the guy who is holding the position of commander-in-chief and head of a party that has always been the flag-waving, patriotic, can't give enough money to the Pentagon folks. And it's that Republican Party headed by a man that looks on military service as something that only suckers
would do. Right.
Kelly confirmed on the record a number of details in a story written in 2020 by the Atlantic editor Jeffrey Goldberg, including that Trump did in fact turn to Kelly on Memorial Day 2017 as they stood among those killed in Afghanistan and Iraq in Section 60 at Arlington National Cemetery and saying, I don't get it. What was in it for them? He also said that always called McCain a loser, called George H.W. Bush a loser because he'd been shot down during World War II.
Oh, and John McCain, of course.
Yeah, right. And then when we may recall that on his 2018 trip to France, he refused to go to the cemetery.
Because it was raining.
Well, that's not really why. He did not want to visit the graves of those soldiers. And he said to Kelly that day, not it's raining, he said, why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers. He went on to say they were suckers for getting killed. Again, Kelly said, this is what was true. This is true. He said those things. He also told Kelly he did not want any wounded veterans in any military parade that was being done to honor him. He said he was inspired by the parade in Paris for Bastille Day, except for the section where wounded French veterans in wheelchairs rolled by. And Trump turned to Kelly, look, I don't want any wounded guys in my parade. And Kelly had said to him, those are the heroes. There's only one group of people more heroic, and they're all buried over in Arlington. Trump responded, I don't want them. It doesn't look good for me. You cannot overstate the horribleness of this man.
And then he's married to that lovely woman who takes this time to say, hey, Don, let's renegotiate our prenup so that I can be sure that there's something left for Barron and me when I leave you when you've lost all your money. Now, I don't know what sort of a prenup protects her from that sort of a thing, but that's what she's been doing.
I so don't care. What vile
people? If you're talking vileness, I just want to point out there's two of them.
Well, who would marry him?
Someone that's attracted to vile people?
Well, vile people with money, I would.
Yeah. Oh, the money part, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, it's hard to not overstate the horribleness of this human being. And Kelly also was talking about how appalling it was that that Trump has essentially put out a call to execute General Milley. And what he does, I mean, that's the stochastic terrorism going on. He puts that stuff out, should be executed for treason, and all he needs is one guy to see that as orders from their commander.
Well, yeah, but it's the same with Fauci. You know, what did that guy do? Except
that's true.
Be an 80-year-old doctor who tried desperately to save lives during a pandemic and gets to spend the rest of his life under police protection because of that asshole.
Well, if you stop and think how many people, I mean, I don't know.
We can't afford it.
No, I'm just saying the number of people under constant security now. Either and I don't know that all are being security is necessarily being paid by the taxpayers. I don't know in all these cases, but if a list were to be drawn up, because the list is not just prosecutors and judges, FBI guys, it is also politicians, people in mostly Democrats, although Republican. I mean, Lynn Cheney. You have to figure anybody who has spoken out against him and whom he has threatened has been then on the receiving end of all of these, clear efforts to intimidate and terrorize. So,
well, Lynn, you've been on the receiving end of these things. You're, for a long time.
Yeah, but nothing like this.
Nothing like this. But I was going to say, even though it's nothing like this, and even though the FBI has stepped in and dealt with it just about every single time, and even though one of the times it was just a friend of mine.
Wait, would you explain that?
Oh, well, this is about 2 decades ago, and it is sort of an entertaining segue, I have to admit. My husband and I had a collection of very interesting friends, one of whom was an appellate court attorney and handled a lot of very upsetting, dead-end cases and got people off death row and was a very interesting guy. And he was at a dinner party that included my sister at one time, and they, met and enjoyed each other. And then sometime after that, Lynn started to receive really... Hello?
Is anybody else hearing Susan?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can now. What happened? Susan.
I don't know what happened. I was just telling the story.
Yeah, well, then you weren't there. Okay, so we lost you, or at least I lost you at, so he and I met at some,
at a dinner.
House.
Yeah, and okay, you didn't miss much. And then shortly after that, you started receiving very interesting letters, very strange. You couldn't quite figure out what they were about. Well written, and they would arrive periodically and began to add up as creepy and frightening. You didn't know who it was. You didn't know what it was about. And there were several of these, I believe. You finally were we were talking about it one day. You were about to contact the FBI, and I was agreeing, when suddenly I thought of that guy. And I thought, wait, before you call the FBI, let me call my friend. And I called my friend and I said, have you been writing letters anonymously to my sister over the past several weeks? He goes, yeah, I thought it was so funny. I was winding this whole story. I was having the best time. I said, well, the FBI is about to arrest you. I'll call them off.
I have very little memory of this. I mean, I
can't remember what it was he was actually writing you. Only that it eventually...
If I were at the point where I was getting scared, then I can't imagine how an intelligent man would do.
Well, he was weird.
Thing.
They were all writers. They would get into their little That's what they did together. They wrote.
Well,
and
I'd forgotten. It was that was But the thing is about I was thinking that the people. This country, we're talking about sort of terrorizing people, terrorism. And I was looking at, Matt Gaetz, and I was looking at a lot of these other Republicans, MAGA Republicans. They are essentially, to me, domestic terrorists because they are trying to absolutely destroy our governance, our apparatus for governing. They are throwing sand in the gears that they are trying to.
Well, Gaetz made it clear that Gaetz, or however he pronounces his name, made it clear that if McCarthy, and heaven forbid I should have to do anything to defend McCarthy, but if McCarthy did so much as to reach out to a Democrat and try and work across the aisle, that was grounds for getting ripped out of this. He does not want anyone speaking to the other side. He doesn't want, it's such a upside down, way of looking at it. I mean, it's just clear. They're just open that they want to break it.
They want to destroy our form of government. Our form of government is based on people talking to the other side and engaging in compromise. That is the system that the founding fathers created with their checks and balances and how it was machinery.
Well, and he is cooperating,
very,
Lynn.
Very slowly.
Gaetz is cooperating. He's just cooperating with Putin instead of us.
Correct. No, and I do. That's why I call him a terrorist. Because he is aiding and abetting, as are any of them that are trying to destroy our government, the Russians and all of our enemies. They are being cheered on by North Korea and China and anybody else who would be happy to see this country go down. They are actively working to destroy the country right in front of our very eyes. And if, Susan, stop and think about it. So in Gaetz is up for re-election. He's a member of the House. Members of the House are up for re-election every 2 years. I don't understand how there can't be a concerted effort to go after the most egregious members and get them out.
Well, clearly he's from a totally safe Florida district.
How?
Okay, Sarasota, that place that I used to love.
People like to. He's from a district in which people love to make Vladimir Putin happy.
I don't know, or maybe they're just stupid.
Well, I think we got to stop saying they're stupid. It lets them off the hook.
Well, you got two choices: either they know what they're voting for, or they don't. And if they know what they're voting for and they still want it, then I think they're traitors. And if they don't know what they're voting for and they're still voting for it, I'm sorry, they're stupid. And Sarasota is like the headquarters of MAGA at this point. They got MAGA training camps for the kids.
Russian television, the news channel there, Rossiya 24, it has launched a weekend show that
Tucker Carlson.
He features highlights from Tucker Carlson interviews. Lest you think that I or Susan are engaging in, sort of like crazed hyperbole.
No.
They are actively Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, Donald
Sarasota,
Trump,
where they have this place where they're training little kids how to fire their weapons.
Donald Trump these are all, I think you look at them now as Russian agents.
Yeah, they are.
It's as simple as that. Milton, thank you. How we forget. Milton.
Oh, he sent us a list of the chiefs of staff?
Mm-hmm. And you'll remember them. Two milk toasty guys. The first being Reince Priebus.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. And he was from Wisconsin. He was the Republican chair.
Yeah. And he didn't last long and was replaced by...
Trump couldn't spell his name.
Mick Mulvaney.
Oh, I remember him too.
Mick Mulvaney gave way to Kelly, and Kelly gave way to the ultimate lapdog, Mark Meadows. So that's Trump's. These people need to speak out. And Meadows' wife would be a good one. From Priebus, you haven't heard boo from Mulvaney. These people.
No, but Meadows' wife is complaining about the smell of smoke all over his clothes while he's burning documents.
Yeah. Well,
so that to me is testimony to me, direct of obstruction and the records keeping laws. And I mean, how many laws does that one little offhand statement by his wife suggest he was breaking in that moment?
Well, Cassidy Hutchinson has talked openly about the fireplace going all the time too, and she said that even though the office had what's called a burn bag, you were supposed to put anything you did want burned in it, and it would be taken away and properly burned, I guess. And she said that in the Trump White House, the paranoia was so extreme that they didn't trust the burn bags and thought burn bags would be sifted through by members of the deep state. And so,
they believe themselves. That's what's so stupid. They sit up at night making scary stories up, which they then believe and scare themselves with. I mean, they're 3 years old. That's what I did to myself in the basement when I played a witch.
Well, yeah. Or I remember when your son was just a little guy, be this time of year. He was trying out his Halloween costume, which was a skeleton suit, a little black unitard that had bones on it. And I remember you or me saying, "Go look at yourself in the mirror in the bedroom." He went running in, and then we heard this terrified scream.
Oh, I miss my little kids. They were so funny.
Oh, God. It's not something I usually would talk about opera, but Roger had sent me this a few days ago. And I've been to a number of operas. It's not my favorite thing. But
there's chicken pox in Appleton.
Yeah, well, I once saw a...
That's from Black Earth, guys. Yes.
Okay. I once saw a opera here in Pittsburgh that so blew me away. To this day, I am stunned by the power of it. And the Metropolitan Opera in New York has done that opera for the first time this season. And I guess was the Metropolitan Opera's, they are working with NPR stations the ones that do classical music to what's the word? To simulcast.
To broadcast or to simulcast to the operas. Yes.
Right. And Roger had sent me this, that the NPR station in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, which is a highly educated area, is it not? Because there's so many colleges and universities there.
Well, there's Duke there and there's UNC there.
Okay, well, the station will not
run it,
carry these operas. The opera I am talking about is Dead Man Walking.
Uh-huh.
And this is the opera about, it's from the book written by the nun, Sister Helen Prejean, who was at the performance that I saw here, and I had interviewed her prior to it. It was so powerful that I really have never experienced anything like it. So the folks who give money to that NPR station will not be hearing it, and will not be hearing the other 5 contemporary operas that the Metropolitan is putting on this season. 3 of these operas were written by Black and or brown composers. Another has LGBTQ themes. And obviously, the one I'm talking about, Dead Man Walking, is about capital punishment and a pretty powerful view of it. That is just astonishing to me, that an NPR station would, for what reason? For what reason?
Well, to get themselves bad publicity.
The woman who heads the station said she felt secure in rejecting these operas. Quote, if the Met wants to put these out as a ticketed organization with people coming to sit in their venue, for people who choose to be there, that's one thing. But to broadcast these things to anybody who might happen to tune in, well, that's something else entirely.
No, it's not. It's exactly the same thing.
It's the same. You can tune in or tune out.
Tune out. It's exactly the same thing. But withholding it, that's something different. And apparently only white, heterosexual European men are allowed to do opera. That's it.
Breaking into tears on the phone when she's being interviewed for this story. She says, I have a moral decision to make here. What if one child, listen to this, what if one child hears this? When I stand before Jesus Christ on Judgment Day, what am I going to say?
Who put this woman in that position, and why is she still there? She should be fired by this morning.
What is wrong with these people?
Well, the statement that I read today that was supposed to be a joke and isn't, is that next Taylor Swift and all of her music should be banned in Florida.
By the way, Dead Man Walking is the most performed opera written in this century.
You know why? Because it speaks to modern day people who are tired and unimpressed and bored by the old white European operas.
Well, it is just powerful as holy hell. It has been produced more than 70 times worldwide over the past quarter century. Unfrigging believable.
And by the way, I would just like to say I like Così fan tutte as much as the next guy. I mean, there's beautiful little operas out there. But sometimes it's interesting to go to the theater or to go to the opera or to go to the movies and be challenged to actually think, to learn and hear new things, new sounds, new ways of putting them together. That's how we, watch out now, grow.
I recall another opera I went to. This one was at Heinz Hall, and I brought our mother, and this would have been in the 80s. But it was because
our mother was always someone to bring to the out there sort of thing. She liked them more than anybody.
Well, she'll never say no to anything. She's game, which is right. One of the things I admire so about her. So I had wanted to see it because Dame Edith Sutherland, Dame Joan Sutherland.
Right? Yeah, Edith.
Was the Joan Sutherland was the
soprano.
And she, and I'd never heard her live, and I thought she's got one of the greatest voices ever. I need to go. So Mom and I went, and we had just amazing tickets. We were about 8 rows from the stage, and the music starts up. It was Daughter of the Regiment.
Good. That's just out of the spit zone. That's good.
And when she came out, Dame Sutherland, she was wearing white plastic go-go boots, and I don't think I ever got beyond the boots. And she was large and older, and she was playing
a
16-year-old.
Yeah. That's right. Opera is the original adventurous casting, blind casting.
Yeah, right. And I have to say that both Mom and I
started laughing.
We did.
I know my family.
We did. We started laughing. It was,
and you couldn't stop.
So embarrassing. It was desperately trying.
Well, that's why Eric and I had to crawl out of Black Earth. I mean, once they started singing "There's Chickenpox in Appleton," I was just down on my knees and crawling out of the place so as not to be disruptive.
Sometimes it's the only thing you can do. Jesus.
Well, you don't want to be bombarded.
Oh God. Okay. So where else am I?
I think this all started by listing who the chiefs of staff were, and then we took off on a flight of God knows where.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Barbara sent me this. Artificial intelligence was asked to visualize what Jesus would have looked like based on what would have been normal for a man in his day in that place. And oh dear.
Not attractive, huh?
No, not particularly. He could use some dental work.
And hygiene, yeah.
And he's very dark. Oh,
of course he is.
He does not have blue eyes. No.
He has very black hair.
Very black hair and dark and not a lot of dentists wandering around then. So his teeth aren't looking too good. So that's what Jesus looked like. Susan, there's somebody in town is posting, and I guess this is legitimate. I at first thought this can't be true, But it's a guy, I think he's got a helper now. They listen to the police radio all the time. And they post the things that are most ridiculous that they hear. You know, people call, I guess these are 911 calls, right?
Right.
Okay, so here's just two from today. North Side, Brighton Place. An intoxicated male is stuck in a rocking chair, needs assistance.
Well, that happened to me. My next door neighbor, when was I don't know, she had two little kids, and I get this hysterical call from her that her son's arm is stuck in between the spokes of a chair, and she can't get it out, and she's just called 911. I said, "Why did you do that? I'll be right over." So I went over. I told the little kid to relax his arm, stop flexing. I gave a slight tug to the two little pigs, and he, of course, slipped his arm right out. If he could get it in, he could get it out. And then I ran back to my house before 911 got there. But yeah.
Well, you know what? You're reminding me of one of my more embarrassing moments, humiliating, embarrassing moments in life. This is a story that if I really were to tell it would take the rest of the show. So I won't. But suffice to say, I found myself sleeping one night at Sally Jessy Raphael's. Remember her?
I do remember her, and I remember when you went there. Yes.
Sally Jessy Raphael's house.
She of the red glasses.
She of the red glasses, talk show type. This was in, I'm thinking, Westchester. I don't know where the hell I was. I took a train. And I was a very unhappy person. I had spent much of the night up with her son watching something he was watching, which I didn't want to see. I finally tried to go to sleep, didn't sleep. As soon as the sun started to break, I got up and I went out to her back patio. This was in a wooded area. And on her back patio, she had a collection of, rattan furniture, chairs and other things, wicker, rattan. I'm not sure what it was. I
forgot about it.
I sat in one of them, and well, folks, I went right through it. My butt hit the ground. My legs were up in the air, but stuck in the frame of the seat, right? Can you get the picture?
Yep.
I could not. I was a bug on its back. I could not extricate myself from this horrifying situation I found myself in. And I wasn't going to call for help. It's like I didn't even want to be found. You don't know what the hell to do.
It's okay. I'll die here.
I know. I'll die here. I'll die of humiliation and embarrassment one way or the other. And I was saved, finally. I don't know how long I was there. I don't remember. By her husband.
How hard was he laughing?
I don't remember him laughing. I think he was nice about it. I don't remember. He was a strange guy.
Well, he wasn't a member of our family.
No. Didn't take a picture. Oh. God. Anyway, he managed to extricate me. So when you mentioned about potential of getting stuck in a chair, I guess I'd forgotten about that. I got stuck. Did somebody say we had a call? No?
I didn't hear that.
Okay. Do we have a call? Okay.
That I heard.
Here is the other, one of the other scanner things that I saw today. It's not that funny, but it just shows the kind of crapola you got to deal with. This is coming from 11th Street, the Greyhound bus station. The caller is identified himself as a renowned author, currently hitchhiking across the country. And he's upset that Greyhound won't let him ride for free. He's wearing an Alaska hoodie and insane clown posse pants.
You know, the world is wonderful if you just let it in.
Oh, God.
Instead, we have to be subjected to the woman whose mission is to get a book banned every day. You know, how does one wake up and become just that vile?
Well, I'm sure she feels she's saving the world, and she's comfortable, like the woman who runs the NPR station in Chapel Hill.
Making these kind of decisions for everybody.
Yes, that she will stand before Jesus, Rambo Jesus, and he'll say, "Job well done," and she'll get into the kingdom.
Do you notice how totally selfish all of these? If that is the end game, that I'm really not concerned about any of you. I'm concerned that I get where I'm going, so screw you all. Doesn't that sort of undermine the good part?
But they're not into the good part. I mean, it's totally, it's of a piece in their whole
I'm just
view.
here to tell you, if you'll do anything to get to heaven, you aren't going there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. So before you start working that way, just remember, if you'll do anything to get there, you're not going.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, did you see this thing about the our mom has to step up her game? Did you see the 104-year-old woman who skydove the other day?
Yeah, I know. I told Mom she's getting lazy. There's the 102-year-old guy that's still driving his original Rolls-Royce Roadster, which, by the way, if I had been gifted that as a graduation present in 1928, I'd still be riding it too. But, you know, I said, Mom, you know,
step it up.
Step it up. Go swimming.
Actually, it turns out, I think the most remarkable thing about the 104-year-old jumping is that it was her second jump. She jumped to celebrate her 100th birthday.
I remember that and liked it so much she went again.
I think she was going for the record because I think she heard that the current record was held by a 103-year-old.
Well, she wouldn't have done it if she didn't enjoy it.
No, and she did enjoy it. She liked it. She thought it was pretty cool. She's, I mean, interestingly enough, you know, the quotes from her, I guess this was in the New York Times. She's not a good interview. You know, you go on a story like that and you want this feisty, and I guess she sort of is, but she said she had no idea that she would get the record. I don't believe that. And she said, all she was thinking about before she jumped, out at, 10,000 feet was, I wonder what we're having for dinner. Now, I did like that.
And I bet you that's totally true.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because honestly, the way Mother approaches every day and is, you know, well, maybe something will happen, maybe it doesn't. Who knows what it'll be and what's for lunch? I mean, that's exactly how she's living her life.
And she said she never married, never had any children. And she said, I had a total freedom in my life. I traveled. I did stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Anyway.
Just shows you that living alone is not necessarily unhealthy.
Good.
Yeah, I'm so tired of people making these judgments. I mean, you know, if you weigh this much, you're fat and unhealthy and screw you, you know. Did you see that little piece of research that all of that skinny stuff being more healthy was the work of one crazed male doctor that somehow got to choose this over all the other studies that said that no, weight is not necessarily a bad thing. Each person has their healthy weight. It's not necessarily skinny.
That's right. No, I mean, these things are, pick and choose, pick and choose, pick and choose.
No, but what gets taught and at the forefront might be some crazed, misogynistic doctor who wanted all women skinny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's that awful and simple.
I found this in the magazine The Week. Just throwing it out here. A driver in Green Bay, Wisconsin, looked under the hood of his car and found a 7-foot Australian jungle carpet python.
Oh, well, that's unusual.
Yeah.
How would he look under his hood and go, aha? Why, that's a 7-foot tall.
No, this was a 911 call. No,
yeah, I would have slammed the hood.
He slammed the hood down and called the cops. Now, I have to tell you, I don't know about the cops in Green Bay, Wisconsin, but I'm sure they don't know a 7-foot Australian jungle carpet python either. But
they should have called the new zoo. Did they call the new zoo?
Well, I'm sure they must have at some point. Yeah, I gotten in touch with somebody who might have been a herpetologist. Anyway, they decided the police tried to get the snake out of his under his hood and weren't able to do so. They figured it was somebody's pet that had escaped and was trying to stay warm in the car. So they suggested the car owner drive over to what they call here an animal sanctuary, probably the zoo, right? The little zoo we had there. So he drove over to the zoo with the snake on top of the engine. And the sanctuary worker, the zoo worker, Lori Bankson, said, "It's sure not a common thing that we see." Or she said, "It's sure not a common thing."
Hey, this is weird.
She said, "Whoa."
Hey, we at the new zoo have never seen this.
My God, what the heck? So she helped remove the snake, and she said not to worry. This python will be cared for and will find a good home. So that was something that happened in Green Bay. Who knows?
So if you're the owner of the snake, do you show up to claim it? Excuse me, that's nice.
I don't know. I mean, I think it would depend on what the laws are.
Yeah, whether it's legal to own such a thing. Well, if they're going to rehome it, then it's illegal.
Could be it's illegal. Well, by rehoming, she might mean a zoo.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's going to give it.
Yeah, I think generally owning exotics are not is frowned upon.
It shouldn't be allowed.
No.
So I remember talking about this a few weeks ago, the climate change stuff and how anybody in their right mind is still buying property on the coast is beyond me. Have you been seeing the reporting coming from Louisiana, the coastal area of Louisiana?
Where we're trying not to get the salt water up the Mississippi, kind of Louisiana?
Right.
Yes.
Well, the fact is that the saltwater intrusion from the Gulf is going way, 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 way up the Mississippi. And you'll recall there was drought on the Mississippi for the last few years, so that the river was, in some places, the Mississippi sure didn't look like the mighty Mississippi, and barges and other, all these ships were unable to go where they needed to go. Now we're seeing that because the Mississippi's not flowing so strongly and pushing back seawater, the seawater is coming up. And there is some communities that simply have lost their water supply. Water has to be trucked in. And one of the cities that is apparently heading into is probably going to have to be trucking in water is New Orleans.
Sure.
New Orleans, which is below sea level. Now, New Orleans cannot continue to exist. I hate to
No, I'm sorry about it, but no.
It will not sustain human life. We can keep pouring money into it. You can they're talking about building desalination plants so that you can drink off the salt water. I think the more reasonable thing is to admit defeat at the hands of nature and move inland.
Yeah.
I mean, increasingly. I don't even know what Manhattan is going to do.
No.
What Staten Island is going to do. What all these places, when you looked at the flooding, this is not something that's just a one-off. It's going to keep happening.
And not only that, but New York is so heavy, it's literally sinking the earth.
Yeah, it's starting to sink in, too. A little bit.
And by the way, just to answer your question, Trump is in court again today. Well, or rather, he's not inside yet, but he's there holding court again.
Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, and just finally, Susan, because we had talked about it last week, the shoes thing. Did you see that? I think it was the Washington
Post. I saw the article yesterday. 2/3 of U.S. homes are shoe removing homes.
I find that impossible to believe. I really do. But it did say that. I find that impossible to believe. Because up until just a few years ago,
you'd never, ever run into such a thing.
Ever. So, bull. I mean, I understand if you're living... you're on a farm or whatever. I get why some people would, or if you're gardening and you have your gardening shoes on, you take them off. But just normal shoes where you had gotten in the car and gone to the grocery store and then are coming back and bringing your groceries in, why the hell? So, and it turns out it's often not the germ coming in stuff. It's just people wanting to protect their floors.
The floors and the carpeting, and there's all sorts of reasons. And, I was thinking about the woman with, complaining about the fact that her pants required stiletto heels and I was thinking, if you're walking into, let me guess, a home with a hardwood floor, which everybody has now, they don't really want your stiletto heels because they're leaving little holes. Little indentations all over their floors, and which is yet another reason for you to stop doing that. You're ruining people's homes.
Yeah, but I do want to say, as somebody who has foot issues, that
you want to keep your shoes on.
Yeah, but for some people, taking their shoes off, and I'll say for a lot of older people, taking their shoes off is really an incredible inconvenience. And I think the article went on to say, or somebody said at some point, that if you are a home that wants people to remove their shoes, it behooves you, if you're inviting anyone to your home, to
provide footwear
before. No, to tell them before, because it is. I don't know. I mean, what if you're the kind of home where you decide the part of, you want people to remove some other piece of clothing when they come in? I mean, you have to. I don't know. The other thing is they did go into the germ stuff, and what I had said, that you are not helping children in your home by creating an antiseptic environment.
No, you got to be subjected
not
to
at
dirt
all. You've got
and germs.
have dirt and germs around. It makes for healthier people. And there's nothing wrong. We all grew up with dirt and germs. We're okay. In fact, we had better immune systems as a result. So I just want to say, and I just want to end with a quote from John Lennon, who said, oh, fuck.
He said that too.
No, he said, life is what happens when you're busy making obsessive plans to avoid germs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let the germ coexist is all I'm saying. And if you don't, if you're walking your dog and you're taking your shoes off when you come in, but the dog ain't taking his shoes off when you come in, I don't know what the point is.
Well, and I'm going to repeat, the people that take their shoes off wipe their dog's paws.
You know what? I think there are so many tasks and things that we all have to do just to keep things moving.
I'm just informing.
I know you are. I would rather. I cannot imagine. What do you think God made? Doormats for? Right? I have doormats. Before you come into my house, if you think there's something, just wipe your shoes on my beautiful doormat. Then come on in. And then I even have a little rug right when
that you can further wipe.
Yeah,
yes.
And then you can.
And I must say, I always wipe my feet. I do. And I sometimes keep my shoes on. But I grew up in the same house you did.
I know. If you ever end up at my house, you keep your shoes on, okay? As a matter of fact, I'll jump all over you if you try to take them off. I do. Okay, just saying. And 2/3 of American households are shoes off. Bullshit. That's what I say. I want to see those. I want to see where they got those numbers.
Lynn, don't make your whole world an actual sample now. Because if I made my whole rule an actual sample, I'd say it was more than 2/3. So clearly, both views are skewed.
Living with a bunch of clean
city folks,
germaphobes. No, I've lived in the city all my life. I've never heard of such a thing. All right, I'm out of here. I am. We're over time. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.